majors or opens.
Right.
Like within an invitational, though, only 16 players, definitely going to see some interaction, and you can get a little bit of mind games in. So it's actually going to be my favorite Jade Druid up versus the very interesting Hunter from Pinpingho, which I said I didn't like, but it performed really well for Tom. So,
but you said you didn't like it because of this particular card, the Flanking Strike, and we haven't seen that. Tom didn't get to really use it in any particular useful way, so
true. I think
you've
it
not
was
been shown to be wrong yet until this Flanking Strike wins this game.
Yeah, I think the Flanking Strike in Tom's game was used to just proc a counter spell, but the reason I don't like it is I feel like the rest of the list is so aggressive that you don't really want to be playing something that can't go face like that. It is useful as a swing card in aggressive mirrors, but I feel like it could definitely hurt Pinpingho in this matchup, and obviously that's going to be a full toss. Purple has gotten some pretty good cards off of his mulligan, Idol into Growth into Jade Spirit. That's clean as it gets for a curve.
Yeah, he should draw into something like a 6-drop by then as well. He'll have the coin ready for that. So that hand is pretty much going to play itself. Pinpingho's got to... It's going to play itself for a turn or two, but it's going to get really messy really quickly if he doesn't draw some good stuff.
Right, it's got to be a razor... What's it called? Crackling Razor Maw for the second... turn for Pinpingho, of course, would be ideal. Even a Direwolf, sure, but you really don't want to be playing another Dire Maul plus Candle Shot. It's really just only putting out a third of the power that you would ideally.
Yeah, then you're really looking for Leok off your Animal Companion if you're in that position, I think. So all you'll have.
Of course.
But I don't see any reason why Purple won't play the Jade Idol. Some players do hold it back, but I like to just get those Jades
definitely in this
growing
matchup.
and growing.
100%. There's no reason to coin out a Wild Growth unless you just know you're going to top deck that Jade Blossom, but it seems a little too next level for me. So maybe Purple's thinking about the turns after turn 3 when he's going to play Jade Spirit.
There's also Wrath as a top deck if you coin out Wild Growth, I guess.
Sure.
But not really worth it. Just protects your 1/1 if you happen to get that into the play. But no real consideration. Also, just a thing about playing turn 1 too quickly in a big match. There's just that reason to take a few seconds to slow yourself down because you might play the other turns too quickly if you do that as well.
Sure, it's also sort of a calming your nerves thing. As a caster, I can say that always the first cast of the day I feel a little bit uncomfortable, and these two have been waiting hours and hours just to get to their matches. I know that the players who have already finished their games, some of them have headed out and toured around Taiwan, and some of them have just gone home.
You can't tour before your match.
No
you
way.
You have to come to the venue and certain commitments you have to fulfill. So, you have to stay here.
Right, so I actually thought that Pinpingho would go for a Golakka Crawler here just because it's a minion that puts out more damage and it's more expensive, whereas you can weave in a Candle Shot at some other time. But I guess he really wants to preserve that 1 health on the first Dire Mole.
Yeah, I mean, we do meme about the Shaman thing. Pinpingho was really known for his Shaman. This is a very Shaman-y sort of start. It's making a wide board versus a tall board you've got to consider.
But if you're a Shaman in this situation, you would not really want the start against the Jade Druid. You'd want like card draw and stuff like that.
But anyone can play the easy starts. That's why you're good. If you're good at the bad starts.
Sure. So this has to be a Huffer, isn't it?
Always Huffer, apparently. How good is the captain here, though?
I don't mind it either. Most of the time, it provides more damage over 2 turns. I mean, except as compared to Hover, right? And it also maybe provides something for the Golakka to eat if he really wants to get rid of the patches. But it's not like the Golakka's getting better, so I wouldn't mind that.
Interesting choice here with the Candle Shot because he has 4 weapons in his deck, so there's a decent chance of drawing one in the next 2 turns anyway. And also, there's not many targets for your Candle Shot's last 2 charges. Your last 1 charge, sure, you might have a trade into a 2/2 Jade or something.
Yeah.
But he's really tempted to get this extra point into face here just because it might be a redundant charge a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think he can afford to hold it for 1 more turn just because he at least has 2 more turns of something to do. But I also don't mind hitting it right now.
It was clearly very close. He spent a long time over an apparently trivial decision. But yeah, those things can matter.
And in stark contrast, that was a 0.5 second turn from Purple.
Yeah. Well, that was his opening hand. We said it all depends about what he can draw into. Actually, he's drawn a bunch of 7s, which isn't going to help him on this coin next turn.
Yeah.
He wanted, obviously, an Io or a J Behemoth going into this turn.
Still not the worst thing for him to play Spirit on 5 when the Jades are up to 3-3 already, and then coin out a 7. However, this board from Pinpingho is quickly getting out of hand. He is, however, thinking about coin Plague, so I'd be really shocked if this patches didn't trade in.
Yeah, just stick it into the 2-3 and put the rest into the face. Seems like a really sensible looking play.
Yeah, nothing else can die to attack minions, so it's the best you can do to play around Plague, and of course hold the Alley Cat.
Yeah, and unlike the Rogue matches we saw earlier, there's no really efficient way for this Hunter to hack through the Plague. He's going to have to do it with 1-3s, so he's just eliminating as much of that as he dare. And like you just said, Alley Cat is a no-go area as well.
So again, thinking about the candle shot charge here, without having drawn a weapon, I think it's a hold for this turn.
Yeah, I agree this time around. I think I'd hold 2, because even if he draws the weapon, next turn might be a bunch of crawlers and alley cats and stuff anyway.
Yes.
And about now, will he start weaving in those hero powers if he keeps drawing low value minions?
Yeah, I think this is about the time for the Hunter to go. And actually, Wild Growth is a really great pickup for purple here because he can just fit in really cleanly without having to float mana with the Jade Spirit. Right, so this Golakka is looking very useless, huh?
Not looking the best. Going to kill your pirate and give it a +1 buff. 2 mana, give +1/+1. Yeah, not so good.
Thinking of something pretty fun with Corridor Creeper, you can actually kill off 3 minions on board here while playing around Plague by actually doing what looks like an ugly trade of double Dire Mole into the 3/3.
I think that's all he'll do actually. Yeah.
Plus the candle shot. That would put the Corridor Creeper down to 4. Which means you can't weave in a hero power. So maybe he'd want to trade with 1 Jade Spirit, but it's technically less damage than 3 to the face. Looks like none of that is going to be happening, though.
Okay, so he's just saying, if you can't kill this board, I win.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you've got the Plague. And if you can kill it, I've got a Corridor Reload.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, totally don't mind it.
Makes sense. Oh, and because last time there was no Spreading Plague, he's going with the read that it's not there.
Ooh, I'm not sure
he doesn't think purple would have played the Jade Spirit if he had the Plague.
I'm not too sure about that, though. I feel like the Jade Spirit Wild Growth turn was still decent for purple, and of course there's still a possibility for Spreading Plague top decks. And I know it doesn't usually make sense to play around top decks, but I feel like Pinpingho was in a position where these 2 extra cats really don't do much anyway.
Yeah, it's possible he thought they did. In terms of the damage available, it was adding up quite nicely. Very, very close to exactly 7 or 8. So maybe he felt the extra 2 attack was very close to being worth it.
Now, in this case, they can also just put the Corridor Creeper down to 0 cost. But I think it's on what Pinpingho really just wants to draw here is Kill Command or Houndmaster. Again, this is a really aggressive Hunter build without the Spiteful Summoner package. It's running Leroy. It's running Unleash the Hounds.
The Leroy is a big deal if you can get there.
But not while these 2 beetles are in the way.
Unleash the Hounds, a nod to the Paladin meta that I think... Did every player from Taiwan bring Paladin? We were talking about that. It was close, right?
Yeah, it might be every
And I put you on the spot there without any notes, but I seem to remember we were talking about it yesterday, and even if it's not every one of them, it was mainly... International didn't bring Paladin, roughly as a split, and Taiwan did. So maybe they, in their testing, they just felt Unleash was really good.
Yeah. It could be, and of course we know that the players from this region will be mainly practicing with each other, of course, because of proximity and lack of a language barrier and so on and so forth. So players definitely prepared to ask what they thought. And there is that top deck we are talking about, and Pinpingho is very, very much just locked out. Between that and the hero power armor gain of 3 every turn, I'd expect to see a really quick concede come here.
But Unleash the Hounds kills one of these.
Yeah, you're right.
Great.
Somehow I'd rather play Unleash the 1/5 taunts, though.
Unleash the 30 healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems good.
This card, even post-nerf, seems OP. That's incredible.
It does seem a bit good. Druid needs to chill. And it's not even the best class. That's why it's not OP, I guess.
Yeah, not anymore, the class.
Well, chewing through as many as he can.
Yeah, we're going through the motions, but next turn a Bone Mare's going to come down and make things really, really excruciating for Pinpingho.
I guess there's no UI for purple looking ahead for any sort of glimmer of hope for Pinpingho. He'll have a little bit of direct damage in his deck as well.
Yeah, I don't see the glimmer even a little bit because of the constant armor gain. So, yeah, purple actually
doesn't see it either.
Yeah, I like this. This is just saving time, honestly. There's no reason to be going for the trade onto the 5/4 because there's no deadly shot shenanigans.
Flanking strike.
No Spellbreaker.
It's going to change the game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would criticize the flanking strike even more if you could play some more burn in your deck. Like, for example, if there was a 4-mana version of Kill Command that does more damage, I'd play that every day more. Does that go face? I don't even know.
I can't remember. I think it does.
Okay, so Cobra Shot better. No, I'm kidding.
Don't email us.
I'm sure that Flanking Strike has its time to shine, but definitely not in this kind of matchup. And it's clear from the way the lineup is built from Pinpingho is that he did not expect to be running into Jade Druids.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that this kind of deck would be great against Paladin because you have 1/3s on 1, you have Candle Shot, you have Unleash, and you have Quarter Creepers.
Museum's still empty. Harrison's just been really bad today. I know it's not going to be bad here because he's won anyway, but it's not done the thing it's supposed to do.
Right, and purple just really does not have any mind for trading here. And, of course, that one trade seems useful. Wait a second. Can some kind of interesting thing be done here? So the best way to get as many Unleashed targets on board is to trade away, I think, your 1 at health minions first.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
So double deckhand into the 1/1, and then I guess a 2/1 into the 5/6, and you have enough space already.
Sure.
Or no, and a Dire Mole, then you have enough space. So that gives him an extra 5 damage into, well, yeah, it doesn't get there. To be short, it doesn't get there.
This is where, if it's me trying to remember my opponent's deck, it's like, he didn't have Call of the Wild in here, did he? Why is he taking so long? What have I forgotten here?
Yeah.
Purple knows full well what this card is.
Here.
Quick 75-second map.
Yeah, the Hounds will be just enough to get rid of the taunts, but then the 7 damage coming from the rest of it just does not get there. So purple gonna take the first game, and he's always got this kind of, I don't know if it's somewhere between a smug expression or a confused expression on his face.
I think that's exactly the right description. Yeah. It's somewhere between those two things. He's not quite sure whether he should be smug or not.
Yeah.
Or he knows he should be smug and he's trying not to be, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, he always has that kind of odd look on his face when he wins.
He makes these kind of timid expressions of like closing your arms a bit. Going, what? I guess I took that win, sure, but I'm sure deep down Purple knew that he had that in the bag from the Spreading Plague turn really sealed it, but even earlier on I feel like the curve worked out really well for him.
Yeah, the Spreading Plague definitely helped enormously, but I think he may have just about lost it, but like you say, he knew he was stabilizing. He knew he needed the Spreading Plague at most, if not already stable.
Right, so the Druid out of the way, I can say that's something we expected at some point. Maybe not to win against Hunter, but finding a target in Warlock or Priest also makes sense. So as for the Hunter for Pinpingho, I think he's wanting to line it up against Purple's Mage. Because again, it's one of those decks that goes a bit wider, and Mage doesn't have too many spells to deal with it conveniently. Yeah,
and we've seen the Mage versus the Warlock matchup is not as fun for the Warlock as everybody keeps telling us either. Mm-hmm. We've seen Mages win that matchup significant amounts of the time.
Wait, people say that Warlock's favored against Mage?
A lot of people have been saying
really?
that. I don't believe it though.
Yeah, well, they do run a lot of healing, but conversely, the Mage runs so much burn.
It's very Aluneth based. That's part of it. Okay,
so Purple actually kept Lackey plus Explosive Runes in this kind of matchup, which I am not actually too sure about, because what the Hunter usually wants to play is something tiny that doesn't really care about getting burned down by an Explosive Runes. Explosive Runes, of course, is the most effective when it's able to negate a huge minion coming down, a whole turn of development, essentially. But that's in aggressive matchups like this, is what I'd expect. Right. In other matchups, you want the Explosive Runes for the burst that it'll deal to face.
So I think that the Hunter here is a decent favourite against Mage, and maybe the Lackey challenges the board well enough in conjunction with the runes that if you can draw into another minion, then he can actually try and sneak the board. It's really difficult to get the board off the Hunter. It can go so wide, and this is a way of turn 1 killing off even an alley cat. Sounds pathetic, but at least it kills it.
Sure, but I don't know. I feel like Lackey actually challenges maybe half a card at best, and
yes, I agree.
Has a candle shot anyway.
I'm just not sure you challenge any better than half a card with most of your deck.
Sure. I'm a big fan of mulligan aggressively for Mana Worm, and a lot of the players today have gotten it, but that's maybe some kind of bias for what I'm trying to think is how often that actually happens.
The great thing is when we have these discussions is we get to at least see how the card functions in play. So he felt that was a good enough keep. And it's just so hard to stop the Warlock getting the board. Even now, even with that start where he's going to deal with the turn 1 alley cat, which is actually a problem for the Mage before you even start, we're already looking at coin, candle shot, kill it, protect my 1/1.
Sure. But I'm a big fan of holding the coin here. Coining out a 1-drop card here, although it saves him 2 health and possibly an alley cat, it seems to really, really wreck his curve.
Yeah, that flanking strike actually looks like it might be a big deal on turn 3 in this particular game as well.
Yes, of course, Kirintor, Mage, Mana Worm, and even Arcanologist all have that 3 health stat line that I think Flanking Strike was included consciously to try and counter.
And there you go, keeping the coin does this. Plays around that counter spell.
Quite neatly indeed. So this looks like an easy Dharma on Candle Shot. Turn purple, I mean... Although he kept the Lackey and an Ice Block, the best thing, and the explosive runes, the best thing he could have had to follow up was this Arcanologist. And sure, it's been decent, but... Okay. With that second one drawn, I'm thinking that this is one of the best hands Purple could have possibly had to deal with Hunter early game.
And it still looks like he might not get it done.
Yeah.
The Hunter's still trying to get out of control.
Sure. For lack of a Mana Worm, this seems pretty decent. Okay, so are we gonna counter spell here? Seems awful knowing that there's a coin, but I really like getting a secret down because it makes a Crystal Runner not very late at all.
It's definitely going to be on time.
So this works out perfectly. It's great to know that when you can play around counter spell and you still have 2 plays, either the 3 mana play or the extra mana play. Good feeling.
And this is the flanking strike I've been saying, hey, this is why I like it, because
in this matchup,
this massive
it makes
tempo
sense.
game. But again, you're right, against Warlock or something, where you flanking strike there 2-1 and for 4 mana you get a wolf. It's like, no, that's just, who cares, right?
Yeah. It's purple now. It's good. Oh, that's an insane draw. I was going to say Arcanologist for Crystal Runner. It's a decent on board, but the wolf is going to get to connect. But this is a huge swing now. And I'm feeling purple is actually quite favored, even if a Huffer gets pulled.
Yeah, he could kill command the 5/5 here because he knows it's not counterspell, but starting to get behind, that's definitely not where you want to be as the Hunter.
Yeah, I feel like kill command might be the play though, because at the lower health total and more cards in hand, it seems like this aggressive Hunter is going to have to play control.
And waste mana.
Yeah.
Because you just love wasting mana when your deck's full of 1, 2, and 3 drops.
Conversely, if he gets Huffer, he is Hunter, then you could kill it off with the Candle Shot charge, and that's pretty efficient as well. But I like taking the surefire way of dealing with the Crystal Runner here.
So putting the Medivh down to 2/2 because he's got the chance of Leok next turn, which means he won't have to ruin his mole now.
Potion of Polymorph. Again, that secret that we were like, why is that in there? But every time we looked at it in Purple's and Firebat's lineups, it just started to make sense a bit more.
Yeah, partially due to the fact we've said this earlier about open deck lists. You just want an extra surprise candidate. And partly just because there's so much stuff right now that you want to get rid of and make people have to play around.
Yep, and great timing on the counter spell there. Purple, after the coin has been gone, and knowing that Pinpingho's hand is probably going to have some other spells, so that essentially negated the whole turn from Pinpingho here. And Purple, he'd love to have another minion here, but I feel like it's only inevitable here. I mean, the Mage hero power is like a mini Hunter hero power, you know?
It's exactly a mini Hunter hero power, except you can target where he wants to go as well.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's always going face.
Yeah, exactly. It's good call. Pinpingho's turn is really difficult here.
Yeah, extremely awkward. His hand says for him to go face, but the early game, the way it panned out, just did not get him enough leverage to start ignoring the board, and that's exactly what purple is allowed to do in this situation.
Pinpingho does have slightly better mid-range stuff to recover. If purple does whiff 1 or 2 turns, then Pinpingho can still accumulate the damage to get back in this race, but just that ice block is going to show its worth in this one, even if Pinpingho does get back into it to some extent.
Right, and that kind of draw that you mentioned for mid-game would be Houndmaster, and that's exactly what Purple has in mind when he's spending Burn to get rid of the Leok. And he realizes that, well, as long as this Arcanologist is sticking, I am keeping up with that Hunter hero power. What's it called? Pit for Pat? Yeah. And because he still has the Mage hero power, it just gets a little faster. If he just keeps up with the removal, he's just fine anyway. So.
Yeah, Pinpingho just got nothing to target with his Razormaw now either. And this is like the worst hand of cards that actually do something you could hope for. They do something, but none of them do anything efficiently.
If only Lyria was a beast, huh? You could give it Wind Fury and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that'd be great fun for everybody. We used to do that with Shadow Storm. Look how that ended.
Great fun for everybody, meaning nobody ever.
It didn't end well. So is he considering the Leroy here just to clear a 2-3 up? Surely not.
No way. If you're clearing it, it's got to be kill command, right? But if you're clearing it, I think you're losing anyway.
Yeah.
So every path for Pinpingho here ends in a dead end. Which is really unfortunate. I don't even know how many whiffs Purple has left. And Purple's like, oh yeah, second kill command used on a minion. Sweet.
Yeah, just give him a Corridor Creeper, then the Leroy will see some action.
Okay, that's about as whiffy as it could get for Purple, and it's still not too bad. Yeah, there's no form of card draw in this Hunter, of course. And I can think of if Purple has that one whiff in the form of Lackey, Pinpingho has like 100 more because he runs double Unleash and things like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out how he even... My brain has zoned out because I don't see how he ever wins this game now.
Nah, it was impossible from at least 3 turns ago. I didn't even know patches hadn't been pulled yet, but that's cute. You can get rid of the Lackey.
Great. Lackey doing its job again. And, I mean, to look at the board state, just to clear this up, it looks like Pinpingho is winning as he's got a better hero power, he's got things on the board.
Sure.
But we know that Purple's deck is just full of burn and he's got a block up. So it's just complete... The reason we're saying it's over, even though it looks really close, is there is just no solution. So this is the something.
Yeah. And, I mean... The meta in this tournament has been really wildly variable. We've seen games like this where players just run out of stuff to do, and then the finishing turns of a game are just really anticlimactic as both players are just really trudging to the finish line.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we've seen games like in Kaisa's match a while ago versus Weifu, where hands were full entirely and you had to think about overdrawing and how to draw efficiently without milling and all of that. So the mark of a good player in these kinds of metas is just being able to be versatile no matter what situation you're at. And Purple, nice top deck, but it's fine.
Yeah, he had like 500 top decks available to him there.
Yeah.
So and you're right, it's interesting, it's the aggro matchups that end up being the ones where people run out of stuff, because each person's aggro cancel out to the other one almost. So he kept that interesting opening hand of a Lackey and explosive runes, and it's hard to know how that factored in. It did get rid of the opening Alley Cat, which doesn't sound like
half an Alley Cat.
But then there was much later on.
It was just 5 bursts preemptively.
Yeah.
So
and there was stuff running out of stuff for Pinpingho as well. So who knows how that would have ended up had he not kept that.
Great. Yeah, and Purple. It's been said often that he's one of the best fatigue players in the game, but this was pretty much the opposite of fatigue when it's your hand that's fatiguing rather than your deck.
Yeah.
And he still performed perfectly well, and I'd say Pinpingho's in quite a bit of trouble because not only being down at an 0-2 deficit, I feel like the best chance he had with his Hunter was against that mage in particular, and still couldn't quite get there. So wouldn't be surprised to see Purple just take the clean sweep here and end the dream of one side of the bracket being purely Taiwan winners.
Yeah, it's really hard to see how Pinpingho can complete that dream. It would guarantee an international versus Taiwan final. Although if Purple's going to prevent that, he's going to have to win 2 more matches after this one.
For sure.
Or 1 more match after this one. It's semi-finals. No, it's quarterfinals. Well, yeah, it's 2 more matches after this one just to get to the final.
Right. If he wins this, he goes up against Weifu, right?
Yeah.
And then the winner of Tom and Virtual, which is none of those names are easy pickings. So it's going to be a long way for Purple to make this event into yet another event where, well, the players from international countries that are more well-known end up being at the top again.
I mean, you've got it to do, right? You've invited players from 7 or 8 different countries here to take on one country. It was always going to be difficult for Taiwan. So 3 wins at the very least is okay. Mm-hmm. And every chance of one of them still taking down the tournament. It is an individual event. I'm talking about as if it's a team thing just because the brackets went so weird.
Yeah. So as far as the hands go, Pinpingho has a Kazakus and Purple doesn't. So I'm inclined to say Pinpingho is in a better position. But Purple picked up a Raza. So
interesting that Purple's just happy playing turn 1 North and turn 2 Blood Mage, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's the way that his hand is. That's like he really has nothing else to do. Like if you have a Glimmerroot, sure. But knowing that the Cleric into Thalnos Curve is only really punished by a Potion of Madness, and I feel like it's punish.
Fine. I guess it's not, because you bump into Thalnos and then you heal your Cleric and get the card back, I guess.
Yeah.
Look at this hand. This is a board of draw a card minions.
Yep. That's a card that Purple would love to have in his hand right now.
It's not a card that Pinpingho is going to play this turn.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking it's just a coin Kazakus here. Maybe if he's patient, you could save the coin as well. But I like the Kazakus because he can follow up with Akanai. And actually, it might be coin Akanai then.
Must consider.
Just because the Acolyte being played so freely like that, to me, indicates that he has something like a Pyro next turn. So you're going to want to be dealing with it as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's going to do one of those 2 things. Not holding onto the coin, which you always want to hold on to if you can, but not so important to keep it in the Priest Mirror. Very important against a Bone Mare deck.
Sure. The coin, actually in Priest Mirrors, the way that resources are parceled out, I noticed, is actually very reactionary. Mm-hmm. When you can see your opponent just tossing out their Cleric like that, it kind of gives you the thought, like, okay, maybe I can give up this 1 resource in the way that my opponent has, because we're still even. He doesn't have that advantage over me.
Right. And just going to draw a whole load of cards the way this is working out, though.
Yep.
Oh, wow. The Naught cost is just going to help even more cards happen. Just needs a circle of healing for the full house of craziness.
Oh, that would be insane here. Holy Smite is interesting because it allows him to clear the Akanai as well. I don't mind it. The way that
you really don't like using it in the mirror a lot of the time, though. Like I say, when it does come down to those resource battles at the end, you quite often want that OTK and you can't quite get it if they heal above 28 repeatedly. So Purple has decided he needs to get this stuff going right now.
Yeah, he's totally playing to the hand he's drawn so far, and this still leaves him in a really great board position for the Raza on 5 because he's got 2 minions for heal targets, and he can keep on drawing and drawing. And Holy Smite, if you spend it out and you still have the Radiant, usually it can kind of cancel out because the Radiant plus another spell gets that extra 8 damage anyway with the whole Valen combo.
Pinpingho gets his 2 cards that he's looking for. Now he's got to make a decision of, do I care about any of these? So 2 friendly minions could be useful later with Death Rattle effect minions. Deal 5 damage, we just deal with a Raza next turn, which would be nice.
Yeah, I think it's deal 5 here. He doesn't have any minions to buff anyway, and nothing that he particularly wants to resurrect.
I think he's just thinking, how far ahead am I going to play this? Am I definitely playing it next turn? And if he is, he will just go with the deal 5 because Raza's such a strong possibility here.
Pinpingho disagrees and would rather resurrect some minions, but I think we were totally right to think about, well, am I playing this next turn? Given the hand that Pinpingho has, looks like Kazaka's Potion is the only decent play. So is there any overdraw potential here with Spirit Lash and healing? There is, but it's not... I don't think it's worth it because you would have to spend your entire turn doing that. It would be Potion and then trade the Kazakas in and then heal something up. Seems awful.
Is he going to clear with Blood Mage Spirit Lash maybe?
Yeah, that seems much cleaner.
And that's that potion being kept back for a Blood Mage coming back for another card.
Sure.
So I'm thinking about thinking ahead. That's the plan that he had in mind at the time.
Yeah, it's all coming together now.
You go, that deals with the, so he'd already seen that deals with the Raza if it comes, so he didn't need the 5 damage. That's why he spent so long working that one out.
Great. It's such a great feeling when you're able to use the spell damage to actually some benefit on the Thalnos, because most of the time it's just another cycle card. Anyway,
just slamming the rat there.
Yeah, well, he knows
trying
that
to pull the...
if it's Valen, he has the death threat. Same for Raza. Not that you're particularly concerned with dealing with a Raza. As far as he's concerned, if you negate the death rattle, you've dealt with it.
We've seen what happens with battle cries and Razas once already today when they don't go off. You lose really quickly and you feel a bit silly as well in some situations.
Yeah, and beyond those minions, there's nothing really scary for purple there, so I didn't mind the Dirty Rat. Unfortunate that he did pull out, from Pinpingho's perspective, the best minion.
Yeah, although the beatdown, the chip damage does matter if you can get maybe 8 or 10 in, because it means your opponent has to waste healing to get out of range of combo, but it's not super relevant.
So if we're playing the potion here, we bring back Kazakas and the Thalnos guaranteed. Has he played any other minions?
No, I think the Thalnos was guaranteed, I seem to remember.
Right. So that would put him on 8 cards and still not an overdraw risk, so I don't mind the potion here.
I think that's right.
Going for the madness here. Is there some order that we missed? Yeah. Oh, of course. Was there some reasoning for going for the potion last there? I feel like...
Yeah, I feel like you didn't want to get a Dirty Rat back.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
It was...
You'd take a Thalnos over a Dirty Rat, even if the stats are awful.
I would have gone for it before, I think, yeah.
So the death there, finding one of its few targets for purple, is really just going through the motions, because when he gets this Anduin, it's just pretty much over. I mean, I've said that many times about this one game that we cast a couple series ago.
I may have seen that one, I may have not.
Yeah, and it really did not go the way I planned, but I'm sure purple has played this a billion times.
At least. Job done. Or maybe 2 or 3 times with the best players in the world.
Okay, so Pinpingho actually...
leveled it up a bit.
This makes it interesting now that Pinpingho's picked up those exact 2 combo cards.
Blame Gia.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lorna. But no, this is kind of interesting because purple doesn't have any damage dealing cards in his hand. Right. He doesn't have Valen. He used up the Holy Smite, and so that only leaves Mind Blast for one of those huge burst turns. So Pinpingho, although he will take 2 turns to complete this combo, he might have some game, especially with Greater Healing Potion. I don't think it's over by any means.
It definitely is not. Pinpingho's in a great spot, but purple is going to be able to heal with his Priest of the Feast, so...
Yeah.
And Pinpingho doesn't have the OTK available, so it's about whether purple can chip away enough.
And he can definitely do that for a while, given that 2 of his cards are cycled. And I like starting the turn with an Auctioneer ping because he realizes that the Auctioneer will be getting in more damage than is worth leaving up, you know.
It's a key damage around a key number as well. Yes, he's trying to get above 28 and keep his opponent below 28 for the full combo.
Sure, and it's at that stage where when you know you can't do that whole combo, it just makes more sense to prevent your opponent's damage because you're still fitting in that enough chip damage to get to the point that when you have the combo, well, it's the extra damage that you might have gotten in by ignoring that minion might not have mattered anyway.
And purple has no card draw. All he has left is Priest of the Feast to buy time.
Yeah.
And Pinpingho is going to start doing a lot of damage here.
I'm actually thinking that Pinpingho looks wildly favored with these hands, but of course a single draw can change things.
As we saw, as soon as Gia said that it needs an exceptional draw, you were right. It came straight off Raza into Andrew.
So I actually like to see a ping on a novice here, just because being at an odd number can help you, and the novice puts you at an even number when it attacks.
Yep. So every point around 30 is so crucial in this match.
Yeah, and getting another 0 mana spell is super relevant with Valen in hand.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of damage coming in over the next couple of turns.
So purple is at that point where he can't play Priest of the Feast yet, obviously, because it's not healing for enough. But he can start to be scared of some crazy Valen combos. But again, this is a world where you can't really be playing around that combo this early. So how much damage can he put out himself? Valen, Radiant, and Spirit Lash and Binding Heal is 16, I believe, and then the ping is 18, not even close.
Yeah,
so
then you've got to work out, do I want to get myself to 29 and Spirit Lash away these minions? The ping actually works out quite well if you do Spirit Lash here. But sometimes you've just got to say, I hope they haven't got it, and just clear up the old-fashioned way. If they've got it, I lose.
Sure. Not a huge fan of it, but because it's not helping the Valen combo that much anyway, I can understand the reasoning for it, and this turn always ends with the Dragonfire. So now Pinpingho is on that weird spot of like, okay, I'm at around 20, which is kind of scary, but do I really want to be spending my Greater Healing Potion on it? And he's found a happy compromise, actually. So he himself can deal, what is it? Surely
enough.
Not 30.
It's not close to 30. So now he's got to decide how much he wants to heal. And I think we might see the Greater Healing Potion here to buy himself one more turn. But he's going to go for the Acolyte first.
I definitely like this.
To see how much he needs that one extra turn.
Picking up Mind Blast here can make... Okay, Shadow Visions is insane as well.
Holy Smite, doesn't get the Mind Blast, but he does get a Holy Smite.
So for the next turn, he would have... Oh gosh, 16... 20 plus, I think 28 from this kind of hand. Although he'd need another silence target to fit it all in and still have the max damage. So...
Notice that he does go for the Greater Heal there to make sure he doesn't die next turn. Also notice I'm just leaving it to you.
That's my bad. Oh, it's been a long day. The quick maths have become very sluggish maths.
The quick maths is now caster maths.
Oh no. We've gotten that far through the day, guys.
So next turn he can play 6 cards, which is 24, plus 2 is 26. Is that right? That sounds way too simple. I've never worked it out that way before. If it's that easy, I'm terrified.
When I see Valen, I just multiply everything by 4 and the Holy Smite. Yeah, it was around 28, I think, was when I did it last time. So I think Pinpingho should have this in the back. Well, wait. Of course, there is the Kazaka's potion.
So it's 7 4s is 28 plus 2. I think it's 30, but I might be wrong. She gets a bonus one for Holy Smite.
Yeah, I think it's 30. Yeah, because the silence will find a target that is neither of those minions.
Armor.
Yeah, but 34 makes this impossible. However, Pinpingho has Psychic Scream, and purple still doesn't have enough damage on the backswing, so I think that Pinpingho is still in a good position here.
He's in a good position, but now it's out of his control, so... He needs to calculate things like, can I Binding Heal myself and still win next turn? From where he's sat.
Yeah. I think playing Binding Heal here gives him only 26 maximum damage. So if he can put purple at 26, then yes. How much does the Binding Heal negate, though? Putting yourself at 26 gets you out of some Mind Blast range, but I don't think it saves you from...
Yeah, it doesn't save you a lot, I don't think.
Yeah.
There's definitely numbers, 24 and 28. There's 26 is definitely a difference, but... Right.
One thing's for sure, the Psychic Scream is coming down because it's the most convenient way to deal with that Priest of the Feast, and also dilutes draws for more burst. Unless you count Kazakus as a draw for more burst, which you could, but it's not playable on the same turn as Valen is. So.
There's the loot hoarder, so on that face. We've seen the potion, so that's not going to get stolen and pinged, so you can mess around here.
Pinpingho is going for the Binding Heal now. So that makes his damage next turn 26 from what we can see. If the Silent... Silence can go onto the Radiant this time because the mana works out.
Mind if I roll need?
And that means Purple will be out of range again when he plays the Binding Heal. And I expect him to, because...
He doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
This seems like a good reason to me.
Yeah.
He knows Pinpingho's close by the way the turns have been played.
Yeah, the way he's been holding cards and just skirting out of the edge of lethal, but also putting Purple just close enough to be scared.
And actually, if you look at the deck size, you know it's close because of the deck sizes anyway.
Yes.
Now Purple has picked up the Mind Blast ready for his next turn. He has to decide where the key numbers lie for him.
Right, so if Purple saves all of this, he can deal, what is that, 628, I think. But he decides it's really not worth putting himself at risk for the next turn. However, Pinpingho has that Priest of the Feast, so I think in the Battle of Resources, like, Pinpingho just gets there every time. And actually, this is lethal with the Loot Hoarder, isn't it? So, yeah. Didn't miss it this time, I think. So.
Didn't miss it this time.
Yeah. I've been doing that a lot today.
Trying for casters everywhere.
But Pinpingho is not a student at the school of Jason Zhou, and he will spot this as soon as it's visible.
Just going through the motions, it's going to be 2-1. Purple's going to have to play some more Hearthstone. But this was queued up, I think, as probably the best chance for Pinpingho as well. He's now got two matchups that are very difficult to come.
That is very, very true. Trying to get a win with the Warlock, of course, we've mentioned, is so difficult. And the Hunter, honestly, I just don't feel like it's a very good deck.
I can now get behind your assertion that 4-mana 3/3s against Priest are not good cards.
Yeah.
That seems to be a bad position for Hunter to be in.
But Pinpingho is still taking it in stride. Getting one win under your belt is still a good feeling, even though the two to come are just basically a really high mountain to climb. And Purple looks completely unshaken by it. Where before we saw somewhere between confused and smug, honestly, that expression just looked bored to me.
That's I'm trying to look like I'm not phased expression. You don't actually look that bored if you're bored. You put some effort on. He looks like he's trying to look bored to me. I think he's terrified.
That is some very, very deep personality analysis here.
I don't have a very, very deep personality.
Lorinda the psychiatrist.
I can't analyze one.
So there is a meta to the players talking to themselves, and apparently there's a meta to the players trying to fool the casters into thinking that they're actually bored when they're not bored.
There's a meta to everything.
Method to madness for sure. And Purple, he looks positively tired here.
Perhaps he'll fall asleep.
That'd be interesting. Have you ever fallen asleep during a Hearthstone game before?
I haven't managed yet. I know a lot of people who have.
I have myself, for sure. Yeah.
What was so
for
boring?
Like a couple seconds.
What was the deck?
It's just more like the stupid thing you do when you're really trying to get a certain rank on ladder and it's like 3 a.m. and you're like, just one more, and then obviously you're playing somewhere comfortable and then you lose it.
I imagine at some point I will fall asleep during a dungeon run, because now when I get tired I switch to dungeon run and I mess around with that, so it doesn't matter too much if I have an accident, other than it just ruins some stats somewhere. And if I fall asleep, so be it.
Definitely falling asleep to a dungeon run seems a lot more acceptable than losing 50 ranks off of just pure stupidity.
I'm too salty to fall asleep when I'm actually playing the game.
Fair enough. Salt
There's too much adrenaline
awake.
to keep me awake.
Okay, so it is going to be the Warlock for Pinpingho here. And as we mentioned so many times throughout the day, if there's a build of Warlock that is going to get the job done against Priest, it's this build with the double Mountain Giants and, of course, Cubes and Doom Guards.
We've already seen it. Doom Guard somebody heavily to death earlier.
Yeah, that was insane.
Thanks to a bonus extra turn.
Is that a Blood Reaver Gul'dan keep from Pinpingho?
It is.
That is very interesting to me.
I mean, you do win this game by turn 10, hit you with a load of Doom Guards.
Sure, but
so why not?
I feel like there's things you really need to have more importantly in the early game, though. Like, Mountain Giant is so good here. Even just being able to have Skull of the Minari into making sure that Gul'dan has some stuff to resurrect. I feel like the keep is a bit greedy here, but obviously...
You have 2 Mountain Giants and only 1 Blood Reaver. Maybe that's how he sees it. That's you want them both. I don't disagree at all. But maybe he feels like the Blood Reaver, if it's my bottom 10, is just going to cost me the game. Whereas if a Mountain Giant's my bottom 10, maybe the other one isn't. But it's definitely going to hinder his early game. It will be interesting to see how a Mountain Giant would have played compared to, say, a Blood Reaver.
So purple, they're picking up a Lackey, which is pretty much one of the most awful results. He has a hand that does great against aggro, but is positively awful against this Warlock. Psychic Scream is good for a Gul'dan turn, but again, that doesn't happen for a very long time.
Some things I'm interested to see what happens here. I'm interested to see if Pinpingho plays Doomguard with a full hand.
You mean in the next turn?
Yeah, the next couple of turns. Okay, yeah. I'm interested to see if he tries not to ever play the Void Lord, so that his Gul'dan is more purely all Doomguards.
Okay. Man, that
will depend on what happens with the Lackey.
I would really hate to see a coin Doomguard there, because you could just...
it's not going to be coin Doomguard, but maybe build up a full hand completely and just take the chance. Now the Lackey's there, you probably take the risk and go for the 50-50 on the Lackey and try and hit the Doomguard that way.
Yeah, that saves Pinpingho a lot of risk-taking. And with the pickup of the cube, it seems like everything could come together if that Lackey just picks up Doomguard. Purple doesn't have Potion of Madness or any silence effects in hand, so this could be the window for Pinpingho here.
So it will matter a lot what this Lackey picks up.
Yeah, it is an even 50-50 because one of each demon is already in hand for Pinpingho. And Purple with nothing to do until turn 8, but to be fair, at least he has the best turn 8 there is. Yeah,
he really does. And in case you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about, basically you don't want all the useless clutter that the Void Lord produces. It doesn't kill the priest, it's not quick enough.
Yeah.
And so you try not to get them on the board.
Yeah, at all, if you can avoid it. That card is only there for your aggro matchups against Priest, which is unfavored. You really just want to be smacking them in the face with Doomguards, and if your Gul'dan Resurrects are a bunch of Voidwalkers, it's really unlikely.
Yeah, it just becomes a real mess. So, but you're pretty unfavored, so taking this 50-50 seems really strong, especially with the hand he has. I mean, this is the hand that can produce Doomguards. He gets one. The game is on. We can do this.
And he's actually going to go for a Faceless here, which I like. For sure. It's unlikely that both of these are going to die, and even if you don't have a cube target, that's still 2 Doomguards in the bank for Gul'dan if they get cleared.
And we will now never see a Void Lord cast in this game, I predict. Just keep that board clear and try and get back 6 Doomguards at some point later.
Void Lord is just such an annoying card to cast, let's be honest.
Oh, there's the Prince. How insane would that have been if one of those was still up there? That's why Purple had to clear it.
Right.
Doomguard count that has died is at 3. They haven't been screamed. That's a really big deal.
Yeah. So I think the turn starts with a Kobold Librarian, but after that, honestly, because that second Doomguard has been pulled, there's no way to cube a Doomguard unless he's willing to risk discarding the Gul'dan by naturally playing a Doomguard.
Now there's 2 important cards. Like when I was saying earlier about there's 1 Gul'dan and nothing else, I thought maybe you'd take the chance. Now there's a cube and a Gul'dan. You lose on the spot if Gul'dan goes, and if the cube goes, you kind of have a mess. But the upside's pretty strong. I don't think he does it. I think you have to try and fiddle your way into a better position than this.
Yeah, we did see what looked like a risky play from Pinpingho there by taking the Faceless Summoner, which, if Purple cleared the board, would make his cube useless. But at the same time, if he had played cube that turn, he leaves himself exposed to silence effects. And he only had 5 mana that turn, I believe, so he couldn't have killed it off right away as well. And I think Pinpingho rightly identified that his next possible win condition is getting to these Mountain Giants. They're like the second wave of threats, and Purple is 1 mana off the most convenient answer. So this could be enough to make that push, or at least get survive until Blood Reaver can come down.
Yeah, he doesn't need to do a lot of damage. He just needs to do enough damage those Doomguards can finish the job.
Which is essentially put Purple at 10.
15?
Have only...
Oh, was it only 2?
2, right?
Was there only 2? I'm losing the plot even more than usual. Yeah, it's only 2. I've even written 3 on this piece of paper.
Don't worry.
I worry a lot.
It's been a really long day.
Nah. We can do the quarterfinals after this.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
I don't
Pinpingho...
have nearly as much experience as you, and that's not... a jab at your age. It's just caster seniority.
Swiftly on if I get massively offended, because that's the sort of guy I am.
Okay, so do you actually like this Lackey here? Because if it dies, it pulls a Void Lord, which of course dilutes the Gul'dan pool. Of course, there's not too many demons that have died anyway.
Yeah, with only the 2, so...
it still fits for sure.
Now he's actually forcing damage through. Seems that he's going for the way to defend everything, so okay.
Yeah, I'm liking this. There's no reason to trade with the Lackey, honestly. And ever so slowly, he inches closer toward the Gul'dan burst turn.
Yeah, he's changed around his play a little bit here because now the 3/9s are actually relevant because it's immediate pressure that looks like he gets through.
So pretty easy Anduin for purple here, but of course without having Raza activated yet, it means that Pinpingho is still able to push some. And the Anduin actually means that purple doesn't have his natural healing active anymore. Of course, he still has Binding Heal and Spirit Lash to get out of any scary ranges. Purple for sure knows that by the time turn 10 rolls around, he has to be above that 10-point threshold.
Going all the way back to the Mulligan for a sec, where he kept the Blood Reaver, what it's enabled him to do is to have a very clear game plan on each turn.
Sure.
So right from turn 1, he was like, I've got the Doom Guard, I can do this. And then he changed that game plan when he got the Giant. He's decided now not to go with the all-in plan on the Doom Guards and go for the Loys. But every turn, because he knew that Gul'dan was available, he was able to plan a lot more conveniently than if he wasn't sure if it was coming. So not only is it a goodish card, or a great card, but it's also actually made it clearer how to play the game for him, which means he makes fewer guess plays.
So I was actually looking at the cube here just as a tempo play, like play it on the Kobold because you don't want to be reviving more Void Lords. But of course, cube can still represent some burst, but only post Gul'dan, and that's if a Doom Guard survives. So I was interested to see if getting that 4 damage early on now would be more valuable. But of course, having picked up Mountain Giant post Anduin, this is way better.
Yeah, I mean, Pinpingho is now just making any numbers he can on the board. He's got burst in his hand to the total of 8. Because now he can play the Doom Guard, not care about discard, and he's forcing a lot of damage through here.
Yeah, will it have to be a Psychic Scream here? Like it, and he actually consciously chooses to not shuffle in another Lackey, which
was interesting to me as well, actually.
Yeah, because that he's seen all the demons pulled anyway. So
he hasn't seen the Doom Guard that we've seen.
Oh, right.
To be fair,
we have the caster bit, of course. So from Purple's perspective, it could be pulling another Doom Guard.
He's scared. It's basically a Doom Guard as far as Purple's concerned.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So the Mountain Giant drawn right back is insane. I expect that to come down, and
then do you cube it?
Why?
Get it back later.
But you wanted to attack.
Yeah,
not do
you cube it on the turn you play it. Sorry, just to be clear here.
Okay. Now I feel like if you're cubing anything, it's a Doom Guard post Gul'dan.
Yeah, that's how it seems to be.
But the thing is, he's not really doing much aside from Mountain Giant this turn, so yeah, I guess tapping makes sense, and maybe tagging a Kobold Librarian at the end there. You're not really scared of being at a low health total without having seen Raza yet. So.
Yeah, Purple needs to find that Raza, but at the same time he needs to not die. He is running out of ways.
Yeah, he's got to be pinging this Mountain Giant and using Auchenai Circle, I think, to clear everything. Oh, never mind. Yeah, Potion of Madness makes this clean, but it's also removing resources from his hand, and he's just got not much to do after this turn.
Yes, the Acolyte will draw some cards at some point, probably 2. It might just get hellfired. Still enough resources to win the game because his hand is full of the things that you win with. And now Gul'dan's going to do that thing that Gul'dan loves to do and bring back all those lovely demons.
Yep. So this is going to be 10 straight to face here.
Yeah, getting it in there as well, just while you still can, before you start having to Void Lord things again later on.
So Purple's going to be trading the Acolyte first, I suppose, to find some better answer for this, because Auchenai Circle, ping, I think it makes it just enough that combined with the Acolyte attack, he can clear everything. But again, that's using so many resources, and you really just don't want to be the reactor in this case as the priest, because as you use more cards, you're losing fuel for the pew-pew later on. Yeah,
I'm just trying to keep an eye on available damage, but of course Hellfire costs a lot. It's not really going up any. But Pinpingho's damage from hand is just getting close to being enough.
The problem is that he can't reliably Doomguard Cube and Pact because...
Just keep drawing Mountain Giants.
That works too, yeah, because of course the Doomguard could have discarded the Cube, but this is a happy compromise, I would say, if not a better solution.
Yeah, just get the pressure coming. That Scream, all it did was buy Purple time, which is what it's meant to do. It didn't buy him much because they just kept getting drawn. Yeah, Purple nods in agreement at that.
Yeah. He recognizes that the end is nigh. Is there any draw for Purple that can save him here? Even Kazakus doesn't get there, I think.
Amazing how much you can weave into one turn, even when you haven't played Raza, though. Like, he's been pinging sort of 3 times a turn for.
No, the thing is, he can't even clear the Doomguard here, so it's just over.
Yeah.
So between Cube, Pact, and Hero Power, it's easy lethal.
Yep.
Don't even need the Hero Power, but, you know, maybe he's feeling a little fancy.
Yeah, there was plenty of stuff there. And 2 games apiece, winning that really awkward matchup by not having to take a risk in the end, apart from the 50-50 on the Lackey, which he had to take. Better than any of the available risks to him.
Right, and Pinpingho, from the very start, keeping the Gul'dan, I criticized it a little bit, but it did work out for him in that case. It was also a huge help that I think he played 3 Mountain Giants throughout the course of that game.
At least, yeah. And he might have even played 4 in the end. I'm not sure. Everything got shuffled back in and he seemed to draw it all very quickly.
Yeah, he forced the Psychic Scream that was earlier than Purple would have liked, but Purple didn't really have a choice there. So the way the draws lined up, missing Raza turns out is pretty bad. And the Warlock just packs so much value. And so that leaves Pinpingho with only the Hunter, which...
The Hunter. GSA's happily.
I say with a grimace.
I think we won more than we lost with it.
No. Anyway, given that Purple has, you know, just a Priest, it seems so easy to be able to run this Hunter out of resources. Yeah. Like 1 Spirit Lash can deal with Pirates, Alley Cats, and so on. 1 Pyromancer and 2 spells pretty much clears the entire board.
Any mid-game card, because it's not killing you too quickly, so any Dragonfire, any Scream.
Right, yeah, it doesn't even run Bear Sharks, which are usually a pain for Priest to deal with. So Unleash the Hounds is really dead in this matchup. Flanking Strike is close to dead, as I keep mentioning. I feel like the only way Pinpingho can kind of win this is to stick a Dire Mole and get to Houndmaster it several times. Because Dire Mole is at that stat line where it's kind of awkward for Priest to deal with.
And judging by his ordering, and which he's selected to take this on, I think he thinks this is the hardest one as well.
Yeah. And he's done his best to tire out Purple, and in fact, this has been as long as it possibly could have.
I was thinking that, though. I was thinking the way Purple was looking is like Pinpingho has decided I'm probably more awake than Purple at this time. I haven't got like the jet lag that Purple's probably got kicking in back now. Purple's had to sit around here for a long time today.
Sure. But this is quite the hand for Purple with Pyro and Coin and Holy Smite and, of course, Raza, which you keep in every matchup. Looks pretty good. I think you just toss the Acolyte here if you're Purple. Or maybe he's already done his mulligan.
The problem is, as well, is trying to tire somebody out playing this piece. The top pros have played this deck 1,000,000 times each. They can play it in their sleep. Now, they might miss 2 damage somewhere, but they can just play this deck in their sleep completely now.
Purple feeling no pressure there. Between Pyro and 2 spells and possibly some shenanigans with Radiant, any small board is easy pickings for him. The one way that Pinpingho might be able to come back from that board clear is that he's drawn an early Corridor Creeper. So if he can play that in response to a board clear and Purple doesn't have the Death or some
easy Priest cards in his hand.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Even Powered Shield. That's insane.
But yeah, you're right. That would have been a way to do it. Just there aren't that many ways to deal with a Creeper, but it doesn't kill you very fast either when you've had Raza down. Yeah. Which is happily going to heal you for 2 a turn.
Right. So Purple, prior to drawing Powered Shield, I guess he was hoping to save that Elemental for Pyromancer and stuff, but the way it lines up on board here as a 2/5 is too good to ignore. He can even Holy Smite away the Direwolf, which I don't mind at all.
Yeah, it's not like the mirror where I'm saying, hey, you might want to hold on to that smite for the combo. You just kill everything and worry about the consequences later.
Right. Using resources here inefficiently for purple still puts him at a huge resource in advantage, even if the hunter uses their resources as efficiently as possible. Just because of the nature of the decks, the way they're built, the hunter's just really lightweight. And that's a Potion of Madness as well, so that's a full clear. Oh, I guess purple doesn't even need to go for it, sure.
Yeah, the only difficulty purple seems to have now is how does he line up his Acolyte of Pain, Pyromancer, Coin, Potion stuff. Pinpingho's turn looks like he might have to waste a kill command on a 2/5.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't feel like it's...
Don't do that.
A waste. Yeah, don't do that.
That seems bad.
That is a waste, I will say. This isn't a turn that you're super sad about as hunter, and like you're not as sad about it as like Candle Shot and Hero Power. But yeah, losing that 5 burst on a minion is pretty awful indeed.
This makes Acolyte just pretty good on its own.
Yeah. Purple has nothing to worry about, honestly. Even a Houndmaster coming down here.
The bow's just not a problem.
He's at a healthy enough total that he has time to wait.
Yeah.
Job's done.
So is there interesting clear here with Pyromancers and Potions that actually makes sense?
Yeah, Pyro, Coin, Potion, and trading the Acolyte and the minion that you get off the Potion is a full clear. You do kill off your Pyro, but I don't think you care at this point.
You draw 3 cards right in the process, or 2 at least. Seems good.
And you can develop a loot hoarder behind it all.
Which is, yeah, it's actually better than it looks. Oh, there's
and you have Anduin as well, so... This game is approximately 110% in
Come on,
favor
Corridor
of purple.
Creeper. Chucky says you're good. Prove your worth.
Right. So flanking actually gonna do what Candle Shot could have done here.
Right.
But yeah, honestly, at least you get the minion.
Yeah, sure.
Purple looks really, really bored. Or maybe that's just his resting face. I feel like most of the time when I see purple on stream, it's a similar expression to this.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, seeing him around yesterday, he definitely looks very different when he's not playing to when he is.
Okay, Houndmaster, in most situations, I'd say that's a great draw, but purple has Shadow Word Death into Anduin in the next 2 turns, so...
Yeah, that seems pretty strong, and he's on 26. It's not like he's worrying about this scary Leroy top deck.
No. This is a significant amount of damage that Pinpingho is putting out, to be fair, but between Priestess of Peace and Spirit Lash, purple has a billion different ways to get back up to a healthy range anyway.
Yeah, he does. And there's no lethal next turn, I don't think. There's just not enough mana available for Leroy, Bow, and something else, or cards, or anything. So purple should be able to get out of range. He is rightfully taking quite a while over this decision, though, as
prior to drawing
the decision that matters.
Prior to drawing Dragonfire, he actually didn't have a way to clear off all the minions, which of course is worse when you're scared of another Houndmaster top deck or something like that. But that just gives him a clean answer. And of course, when you're running a deck that is as light as this, Pinpingho was bound to whiff at some point. Oh, Patches is still in deck though. That's cute.
Yeah, Spirit Lash is still in hand though for purple because he drew the Dragonfire, so...
That's not so cute if you're Pinpingho.
This health total has come down to Leroy proportions, but the rat's another 6 health.
Yeah.
In fact, it's another 7 health because Spirit Lash is going to be played. 6 for the rat plus the 1 bonus. Plus it's 2 because it's going to be down or stuck. Oh dear.
This is super excruciating for Pinpingho. I'm sure he realizes that there's no way out without having something like Divine Favor, which makes Paladin kind of have more game against Priest. Drawing 1 card a turn just never gets there. So I think it's just going to be a concede.
As soon as he sees Anduin, that's just going to be the concede for sure. I guess at this point he's thinking, well, actually, Purple's used quite a lot of his resources clearing my stuff. Maybe he's just got that bad hand that's 1 in 100. Right. But now he's just sealing it up.
Yeah, Purple is actually not even going to bother with the Anduin.
Yeah, sure.
I wonder what the reasoning behind that is.
Getting the most out of this Priest of the Feast and not caring, realising that he wins either way.
Yeah, he can heal up with it the turn after anyway. I feel like Anduin is more likely to induce a concede.
I think he's trying to induce a concede. Don't make me beat you. I want to force you to give up.
Oh my god. But either way, he gets that concede, and purple will be moving on to day 2 as the sword